Today we're going to talk about or review how to graph linear equations or equations in slope-intercept and standard form. We're going to start with slope-intercept form, so you have some vocab terms here. You can fill in some definitions. So slope-intercept form is the form y equals mx plus b, where slope is the rise over run, and that's going to be your letter m. So wherever your x is, the letter in front of it is your slope. And then your y-intercept is the point where the line crosses the y-axis, and in your equation that will always be the number that is added or subtracted that does not have a variable with it. Okay, so y equals mx plus b, m is your slope, b is your y-intercept. So go ahead and pause this for a second. Make sure you have that written down, fill it in, and when you are ready, hit play, and we'll go to the next problem. Okay, we're going to do two together, and then I'll let you try two on your own. In this first problem, y equals negative 5x plus 5, I'm going to start with the x because that tells me my slope. So my slope is going to be that coefficient, or the number in front, and I always make it a fraction. So if it's not a fraction, I put a 1 on the bottom. And then also notice that because it was a negative 5, I left the negative on the top of the fraction. It just makes it easier to graph. Your y-intercept, or your b, is the number that doesn't have an x with it. So it's a positive 5 there. Okay, always works best to identify those before you try to graph. And then once you have those identified, remember two things. B stands for begin. M tells you how to move. Okay, so b is my y-intercept. So on my y-axis, I'm going to go to 5. Most common mistake here is that students put it on the wrong axis. So just make sure you always remember y-axis. You always go up or down with that first number. And then slope tells you your rise over run. So how many do you go up or down, and how many do you go right or left? So my slope is negative 5 over 1. That tells me that from my beginning point, I should move down 5, and then that 1 is positive, so I'm going to go to the right 1. I can actually do that another time. From this point, I'm going to move again, down 5, right 1. And then I'm going to draw a nice straight line here. Let's see if we can get a good one. Use a ruler or an ID to get a nice straight line. It's really important in some of the stuff that we do to make sure our lines are accurate. So get a nice straight line drawn in there, and then go ahead and draw arrows at both ends. So I gotta get my arrows in there. I'm going to change my color to match, and we should be good. So there's my first line. That's all you have to do. Let's look at the second one. Okay, slope is always the number or the fraction in front of your x. So this is in front of my x, so my slope is negative 7 over 5. Notice I move that negative sign up to the top again. We'll use that in a little bit. Let's run, not rust. Okay, and then my y-intercept is going to be the number that is added or subtracted after the variable. So in this case, we're going to have a negative 4 because it was a minus in there. Okay, and then there were two things I told you to remember when you're graphing. Start with your b. B stands for begin. So I'm going to begin at negative 4. And then m, or my slope, tells me how to move. So b is begin, m is move. Notice, though, if I go down 7, right 5, I run out of room here. You can actually change this. So instead of going down 7, right 5, you could go up 7 to the left 5, if that makes it easier. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, back 5. And that's all I can fit on my graph, so I'm going to go ahead and draw a line right away and be done with this equation. Okay, and that is it for slope-intercept form. So go ahead and hit pause. You have 2 to try by yourself. I will give you one hint here. In this next problem, there's not a number there. So remember, if there's not a number there, you can always put a 1 in, or a 1 over 1, so negative 1 over 1. But graph those, and then you can have them checked before you go on, or you can go through them in class. Next, we're going to talk about standard form. Standard form looks a little different. In slope-intercept form, it's y equals. Standard form has x and y on the same side. So what we're going to do is we're going to find the x-intercept and the y-intercept using something that I call the cover-up method. Okay, so we're going to find the x-intercept, which would be when we have a 0 here, and the y-intercept, which is when we have a 0 there. Okay, so let's do 2. It makes more sense then. When you are looking at these problems, we have 2x plus 3y equals 6. I'm going to actually go ahead and make a rectangle here and kind of change that, because to find an intercept, we need to look at only one variable. So fill, we'll make that blue just because that's first. So what I'm going to do is, to use the cover-up method, I'm going to start by covering up the y. What this does is it makes it an equation I can solve. So I'm left with 2x equals 6. Now let's get the x alone. So I'm going to divide by 2 on both sides to get x equals 3. And that is going to go along my x-axis. So it's technically the point 3, 0. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and graph that. I'm going to move now this box to cover up the x. So I found my x-intercept when I covered up the y. I'm going to find the y-intercept when I cover up the x. So I'm left with 3y equals 6. Divide by 3 on both sides to get y equals 2. So on my y-axis, I'm going to go to 2. This is really the point 0, 2 there. Okay. Now that I have both intercepts, I can actually draw a line to connect them. It's a nice straight one. And let's go and change these properties. We're going to make this an arrow at the end, and I am done. Pretty easy. That's not the arrow I wanted, but it's close enough. Okay, let's do one more. I'm going to move this box over. It's in standard form because x and y are on the same side, so I'm going to cover up my y, and I'm left with 5x equals 10. So if I solve for x, I get 2. Divide by 5 on both sides, x equals 2. Go ahead and plot that. Easy stuff, right? Move this over, cover up the x. This time, I am left with negative 2y equals 10. So divide by negative 2 on both sides, I get y equals negative 5. So I'm going to go ahead and plot that. And I'm going to go ahead and draw my line. And go ahead and put your arrow at the end. And we are done. Okay, that's it for graphing. There's 2 more for you to try. You can have them checked when you are finished. And then there are 8 problems for you to do for independent practice. And bring those with you on Tuesday to have them checked. And we will go through any questions. Have a great day. If you need help, pause, raise your hand, rewind, talk to a partner, whatever you've got to do. I will, like I said, go through these a little bit on Tuesday to make sure you're okay. Have a great day.